The ventilation pipe in this building is always checked every year, but until today, when the whole building's pipeline was completely restored, a body like the mummy was discovered more than 7 years ago. Today, I will tell about a murder case that shocked China in 2006. This case not only haunted the public at that time about how to hide the crime of the criminal, but also about the fact that the perpetrator of this case was rotated continuously and until now still could not find the killer. Ultimate evil. It has been a long time since the warehouse in the basement office building, Beihang Building, Beijing City, has not been cleaned and repaired. That's why, at noon today, Mr. Vuong, the warehouse manager, decided to take a flashlight to clean and repair this basement B2. In the warehouse, he used a flashlight to suddenly see a humanoid object. If you look closely, it's true that a set of corpses that have dried up only to cover the bones may have been dead for a long time. He immediately called the police. Recalling the scene at that time, manager Vuong said it was like a set of mummies in a horror movie, so it was very scary. Received the news that the police were present. Through preliminary investigation and information provided by police management, it is known that the victim was stuffed more than 10 meters deep inside a tube with a diameter of 50 centimeters, from the red two-piece dress and the white bra still remaining. Intact. Police determined the body to be a woman. According to the autopsy, the victim was a girl between 18 and 22 years old. The head and face were hit hard with a blunt instrument leading to serious injuries. Deformed face. The medical examiner also found that the victim showed signs of being raped before she died. But the time of death was too long, so it was not possible to test the DNA of the victim with nail polish and a relatively high-class outfit. Next to the body was found a small bag of a famous luxury brand. There were also some cosmetics in the bag but no wallet or cash. In addition, a shopping receipt with the year 1999 was also found in the bag. The coroner determined that the victim died about a year ago, either before or after the building was completed in 1999. Her body was stuffed into the basement ventilation duct, blown dry by a high-powered fan. Immediately the missing cases occurred before and after 1999 in Beijing without finding the victims were also turned over. After re-examining the missing reports in this year, the police discovered there is a mysterious disappearance that happened in the same year. It is very likely that it is the case of a girl named Kwok Understand De Yet. To confirm the victim's identity is Kwok Understands De Yet or not, the police went to the victim's parents for a DNA test and they also recognized the child through the dress and the remains of the mysterious missing case. Now the victim has been found. But in the end, only a dry skeleton remained. Tu De Yet, a 19-year-old female office worker, disappeared right in the building where she worked. Kwok Understanding is originally a rich lady who often wears branded clothes and drives her own car. She has many followers because of her good-looking and youthful appearance. That year, she worked at a company with an office in Beihang Building on October 6, 1999. While having dinner with Kwok's family, she received a call from the company urging her to come to the office. Support. That night she didn't come home, her cell phone turned off. Her parents thought she had to work overtime overnight, so there was no doubt that the next morning, she still could not contact her child. The family inquired and found out that last night she did not go to the company, too worried about the De Yet family immediately split up to search. Relatives discovered De Yet's car in the basement parking lot B1 of the building. There was no one in the car without any traces of theft. They quickly found the building security from the only surveillance camera at the entrance to the parking lot. They saw De Yet driving at over 21 o'clock last night then disappearing. At this time, her parents began to lose their temper and immediately called the police that their daughter had disappeared without a trace. The police quickly got involved. They realized that the distance from De Yet parking to the stairs leading to the first floor was only about 50 m. At that time, the building's parking lot did not have an elevator, so they had to walk to the first floor. After many searches, the police did not find any unusual situation. They searched all floors of the building but found nothing. After searching everywhere without any trace, the police suddenly discovered that the warehouse on the B2 floor was locked, asked again, and learned that the B2 floor was locked because of illegal renovation. Check once for water and electricity leak room. Only the building owner and the security guard in charge of patrolling the basement have the key. The family did not want to miss any place to find their child, so they went to the security guard. Please open the door. Guarding this basement is a 60-year-old man surnamed NGO who sympathizes with the worries of parents, so before the police arrived, they also opened the door for their family to check. Then the police also loved asked to check again, but neither the police nor the family did a thorough check. They forgot to consider the pipes. Around 2,000 cars were not as popular as they are now. It was a criterion of success and a symbol of wealth at that time. Kwok understands Dayet drives a private car. Initially the police suspect this is a kidnapping for ransom, but the catchers are slow to appear to ask for ransom as usual. Because Guo is still young and beautiful, the police further suspect that this is a sexual assault case. But after searching her whereabouts, she found nothing. Finally the case fell into a dead end when even the victim could not be found. In short, Kwok understands that they are always missing, so after confirming that the body was found in the ventilation pipe in the basement B2 of the North Building every year in 2006, it is indeed who was killed by the victim. Kwok understand browsing? The police turned the case over and investigated all of the victim's colleagues who worked in the building at that time because the time of the case was too long. Most of the evidence at the scene has been lost. The employees who used to work in that annual North Building are now scattered all over the country, so it is difficult to trace. The difficulty increased to 10 parts. This murder also has an extremely strong effect on each other. As long as there is a glimmer of hope, they must use all their strength to solve the case and arrest the culprit. Police agencies in the area immediately set up a special project team to conduct a thorough investigation and finally screen out a group of suspects who were often active around the scene at the time of the crime and were knowledgeable in the colony. Police said that the perpetrator was very familiar with the situation here. He entered the basement B2, which was locked with the body hidden deep in the ventilation pipe located in a discreet corner with no outside lights. There is also an iron net that ordinary people will not know that the iron mesh can be pulled down. Through interrogation the police have located a number of suspects. The first suspect is Dayet's superior named Truong Nak Hoa. The second is a guard NGO and the contractor surnamed Lu, with this person being the only two people who have the key to basement B2 after their boss. And finally a construction worker named Tri Yu Duke Kwong, 20 years old. First, the boss of the victim. This is the suspect that the police suspect the most in Hoa. A female colleague said Hoa arrested. She called Dayet to the company to work overtime after that. He ran down to the parking lot to wait for Dayet to arrive. Hoa left the office for about 30 minutes. When he returned and said he didn't see Dayet, heard the news that he was missing, Hoa immediately told two employees, "Don't talk nonsense, especially don't mention that he was out of the office for 30 minutes. The two young girls were afraid of getting into trouble, so they hid the information. Then they heard that Hoa once pursued Dayet even though she was twice her age and married, but was rejected by her. However, when comparing the time, the police found out did not match. Dayet received a call at about 1900 hours leaving the house after 21 hours of surveillance video showing her driving into the basement at about 2140. Hoa went downstairs at 2110 and went upstairs at 2140. The time between the two is only a few minutes. Even if Hoa met Dayet, he couldn't rape and kill the girl in just 3 to 4 minutes, then hide the victim's body and drag it down to basement B2 and put it in the ventilation duct. It will take at least 20 or 30 minutes to recover. Complete all the work. In addition, according to the two employees, Hoa did not show any abnormality after returning to the office. The appearance was still normal. After removing the suspicion with Hoa, the police began to check the people holding the keys to the floor warehouse. Basement B2. The person who keeps the key to the basement and most often goes in and out is Mr. NGO, who protects this area. However, after checking with the police, it was found that during that time Mr. NGO had a stroke in 1998. During the time Dayet was harmed, he still had hemiplegia sequelae, had difficulty walking, one arm could not move freely. Can't afford to kill, especially a young person. Thus, the police continue to target the third suspect, which is the contractor surnamed Lu. This person also has the key of the basement, which is in charge of the construction supervision of B2 floor, has the key but does not return it. However, there are many people who testify that that night Lu and the owner of the building played cards together, and did not have time to commit the crime. The most likely suspects already have an alibi. This once again made it difficult for the police to find themselves in a difficult situation. The police were provided with an important clue by Mr. NGO on the night of the murder. He patrolled the parking lot, discovered 3 workers walking around smoking with facial expressions. Strange. He knows one of them is a million dong, about 20 years old, is a construction worker. To complete the project, the investor often calls workers to work during the day and at night to stay in nearby shacks. When Mr. NGO asked, Vuong said they had just been drinking. Watching porn so now can't sleep. Want to find a prostitute. The next day, when he heard that Dayet was missing, Mr. NGO was a little suspicious of the 3 workers. But he did not report it to the police for fear of retaliation. Realizing this was important information, the police immediately summoned and investigated Zhao Duke Vuong. When the police arrested Vuong, he was still working for the contractor Lu. Seeing that the police came to him, he quickly said that the matter had nothing to do with me. Duke Vuong's expression was extremely unusual, leading to the attention of the police, but they did not arbitrarily assume that he was the killer. Anyway, they had been investigating for a while. Perhaps the workers know this news. Based on the truth that neither the bad people nor the good people are unjustly forgiven, the police conducted a more detailed investigation into Duke Vuong. The results were not surprising. He admitted that he had participated in the October 1999 rape and murder case. According to Vuong's confession, the police arrested 2 other suspects in the case. It was Vuong Phuc Minh and Duong Quang Hoa. According to the testimony, after meeting Mr. NGO, all 3 decided to leave. Then, they caught Dayet just got off the car and saw a beautiful young girl. Vuong made obscene teasing, Dayet scolded, and then returned. Turning towards the stairs, the trio of workers chased her down with multiple punches. Dayet kept calling for help but it didn't work, was carried down to the basement warehouse B2 and then raped after committing the crime. Fearing that the victim informed the police, all 3 decided to kill and hide the body in a tube. At that time, according to the clue Vuong provided, the police arrested Minh and Hoa, and after interrogation, both admitted to raping and killing through the police. Thoughts had found the culprit and this was the end of the case, but things started to change. After the case was filed with the court, many unusual things were discovered. This case has no license. Evidence other than confessions of all 3 suspects if the confessions are essentially the same. Especially there are details that only the killer knows can prove they are the culprits, but confessions of all 3 suspects have major contradictions in the basic circumstances. Vuong and Minh discovered the location of the ventilation pipe, and the body was completely different. Hoa was not only hidden anywhere but also never mentioned the ventilation pipe. There is also a huge difference in the description of the 3 suspects. Minh said he stabbed the victim's chest and abdomen many times with a dagger. Hoa said that he used a knife to stab the girl's heart. They did not mention that the victim was beaten with a blunt object on Dayet's body. There were no marks. None of the knives showed traces of being stabbed with a sharp weapon, and the 3 suspects also contradicted when they told about how to bring Dayet down to the warehouse in order to rape the victim. Especially no one explained how they unlocked the door on the B2 floor. Although all 3 admitted that they were the culprit, in the end, all the statements that the 3 people said raised many questions for the investigation side. In 2007, Vuong Phuc Minh suddenly died from a brain hemorrhage. Duke Vuong began to show signs of abnormal mental health. Duong Quang Hoa did not speak clearly with both eyes glazed and later determined to have an intellectual disability. In the next trial, Vuong and Hoa respectively withdrew their confessions, saying that they were forced to confess, so they had to make up stories. In 2008, the 2 people were acquitted because there was not enough evidence, and the case was finally re-investigated. But almost no evidence was found. The clues that could be collected about blood, semen, fingerprints, footprints all disappeared from 7 years ago. I thought that after 7 years of disappearance, finding the victim's body would open a new result for the mysterious case. However, after many investigations, how many suspects appeared? the results about the perpetrator still became 0. Is the ranker really the killer or not? Did the victim's 2 female colleagues tell the truth? Are the 3 men who once admitted to being the killer after withdrawing their words are hiding something behind it? Thousands of questions are raised with me after every detail, but the police investigate me and I still don't understand why. If the other 3 men are not the perpetrators, why are they only admitting murder because of police threats, or are they condoning to cover for someone else and maybe that person is the real one? Is the killer? Until now, more than 14 years have passed since the 3 suspects were found innocent, and it has been 24 years since Kwok understands Dayet was harmed. Her family can still wait for the day the killer is caught. What is the law in this case? What do you think? Do you think the 3 Kia men are the real killers, or have you discovered any other fascinating details? Please leave a comment below the description to let me know.